Hi Keith and colleagues, it's hope all's well in Australia, and it's a great pleasure to come in and just share a few thoughts with you very briefly on the environment we're going to be facing in sport over the next few years. Obviously, I think we're all basking in what was a successful Olympics and Paralympics in London, but I guess we're all saying, well, bloody hell, what's going to happen to funding now going forward? We'll continue to live in challenging times, and I appreciate the economy in Australia is a lot better than it probably is in a lot of Western Europe, but irrespective of that, I don't think resources are going to be plentiful, either corporate or public. The trouble, and I guess it's looking forward in terms of what should be the focus in terms of sport to assure the sustainability of sports all the way through beyond 2020. Now is the time for us all to have our 2020 vision. As a consultant, you just imagine what a wonderful time that is. The problem with sports, unlike some businesses, is that the focus is pretty short-term. Short-term thinking is endemic. And often it's restricted to the size and shape of the begging bowl. Now, a lot of the performance focus of sports commissions and councils have changed that in recent years. But in some ways, sports think it'll never happen to them. And yet I know full well that a number of sports will have their funding seriously cut in the UK following the Olympics, because obviously there was a significant investment in sports like handball, water polo, volleyball, where there was never any chance of a medal. But yet the sport was given the chance to showcase itself. That won't happen going forward. There's also no sense of process about terms of what to do to go from point A to point B going forward. And for some, performance is still tick box, and that clearly isn't going to work. In the UK, most sports who performed well in London can expect 90% of funding through to Rio. But of course the economic environment is at its worst possible, the most challenging we've almost ever had, certainly in my lifetime, and I've lived and worked through 4 recessions. Sports have to address not only the athletic performance going forward, but also the business performance. Governance alone is not enough. Governance without leadership frankly gives no sport the right to perform going forward. Governance alone doesn't win gold medals. Sports have to take risks. And I think really in terms of the new model of sustainability of sport, it's got to be something along the lines of, first of all, assuring your athletic and business performance, and that is viable and sustainable. Secondly, that as a sport you've got a greater social and cultural purpose. Now that's where sports like swimming is fantastic, because swimming saves lives. Cycling as well, tends to be good for the environment and also be good for people, and there's something that people can do going forward. Those sports that are simply hitting balls with sticks, I don't think have got much future unless they can identify some real values that they can be associated with, like hockey for example. But sustainable sports also have got to grow great people, not employ the lowest common denominator of people, and also be very mindful about the impact that they're having on the wider environment, not just green agendas, but the wider economic use of resources going forward. In many ways, there's a great opportunity now for sports to go from good to great, and I appreciate both the challenges that some of the Australian sports will face post-London and looking forward to Rio, which will be quite a different games. But they need to go from good to great. To do that, you have to set goals that you're passionate about, you have to establish what you can be best in your world at, and you have to make sure that your resource engine, be it people or be it money, is in great shape. So to do that, it really does take not only an internal reality check after London, but an external one as well, and to come up with the bones of a sustainability strategy that will go forward, that will differentiate you almost as never before from your competing sports, and give you a real platform to appeal to corporate sponsors as well as to the public sector partners, and indeed to the people that will be playing your sport for future generations. In truth, it's about making you as sports more distinctive, more differentiated, and into a stronger competitive position in its widest possible sense, not simply on the field, but off the field as well. I hope that's been a useful little bit of thought provocation. I know that you're always up for that, and I know that you'll always respond very, very positively. And it'd be great to be involved with some of you in terms of transforming your thinking in terms of going forward. We're very lucky in British sport to have Mission 2012, It took 8 years in the making, but certainly has been delivering consistent results, particularly in those sports where we have got a particular competitive advantage. But the principles of Mission 2012 are really quite simple. Have you got enough athletes and coaches? Have you got a performance system that is world class? And have you got a culture in the sport that is all about performance? And that's the challenge, I guess, for all of us in sport going forward, is to secure that sort of platform. All the best to you all, and hopefully see you soon. Cheers.